Hello, everyone. Welcome to The Digital Dilemma, where we dive into the latest in tech news, trends, and tips. I'm Nick Dreyfus, and today we're tackling a crucial topic that can make or break your organization. This time, it's on, is my technology holding me back from hitting my business goals and targets, something we see and hear about all the time. So we're often finding that networks, because of changes in leadership, partners, policy, process, and procedure, end up becoming overly complex over time and become very unreliable and ruin any type of productivity for both on-prem and those remote workers just the same. So things you want to look out for, and I'm going to kind of go over a few things with you that I think are making a big difference and questions to ask yourself and then your team, right? And this is not just your information technology team, the technology people. Ask your staff, ask just about every department individually how they are performing and what are the things that are holding them back that can make them perform a little better, because that's what's going to be the real driving force here. And I think these questions are just never asked often enough until it's way, way too late. Right? So do this before it gets too late. So number one, are reoccurring issues difficult to even identify in the first place and resolve? And do they cause significant disruptions? Not every single one is a significant disruption, but I think the fact that there is disruption, even if it's just the accounting department, even if it's just for a couple people, if it's every single month, that's still a problem, and it's probably due to complexity that just doesn't need to be there. Especially in 2024, there are so many awesome solutions out there, and we've even found for less money than what someone's paying today that can eliminate most of the complexity that's in someone's network. So do network outages or slowdowns often require extensive troubleshooting across multiple systems or vendors? That's a big problem. Right? Are there overlapping tools or redundant systems making root cause analysis very difficult? Why this matters? Well, the complexity often manifests itself and persists in persistent problems that are hard to diagnose and resolve, impacting operational continuity. Now, number two, does the network infrastructure align with current and future business needs, or is it just over-engineered? What we mean by this is oftentimes what we'll see on someone's network is they will build infrastructure, maybe a server stack that's dedicated for just the accounting team, right? And this whole stack is just dedicated for them. And then we have this whole nother VLAN and all this built up network that's over on this other side. And then we try to find out why there's separate VLANs and why two people can't have a hybrid position where they're in two different departments. We often find that they can't work together. They have to jump onto another VPN. Well, that's not very efficient, right? And especially what happens is sometimes that can make things less secure, not more secure, because of the over complexity that's built into that network. So are there too many layers of devices, protocols, or configurations that add little to no business value? Sometimes those are great things. Sometimes that security level is needed because of the industry that you're in or the type of vendor or things like that. So I'm not talking about those. Often, especially in 2024, those are fewer and far between than they were just a decade ago. A decade ago, yes, we absolutely had to build super VLANs and all these very difficult things to improve security. And we're finding now that additional quote unquote security doesn't make things better. It actually reduces security in many cases. So is the network supporting outdated systems or unnecessary features that increase the overhead without any benefit? We see this all the time where a client will have a old system from 5 to 10 years ago and it's a chat feature that the team used to use in bunches. And now it's just not used, but we're still updating it. And it's a whole separate server and it's still being managed and maintained and backed up and everything. And it's just another focal point for security to have to back up and make sure that device, those users are still having access, but then also making it so it's less secure. This is not a positive, right? We want to make sure that the solutions and the features actually have a benefit for the team and not one more thing that a hacker and attacker can get into your network. Another good point is, can the network easily scale or adapt to new demands, or does change require significant effort? I'm telling you right now in 2024, any type of change requires significant effort and downtime and planning and all these things. And again, I'm not talking about enterprise organizations here, right? Almost any type of change for them is going to require significant effort, meaning planning, projecting, verifying. We're talking about the most, let's say, 60 to 80% of businesses that have less than 500 employees. This should not be a significant effort to make just small changes or a change that's going to benefit the team when in its CRM tool or a device or a chat feature, let's say. These are the things that these should not require significant effort to make changes. Another thing pointing to over-complex solutions. Why it matters. Overly complex networks often exceed actual business requirements, leading to inefficiencies, higher costs, and to my biggest point, reduction in security. Those extra devices, those extra servers, those extra appliances, it's one more way that a hacker and attacker can exploit. Again, going back to something I said in a previous podcast was Target. You know how they got hit? Through the air conditioning unit, right? So that's an ancillary device. Does that absolutely need to be on the network? Can we make it on its own segregated network, right? That's a thing where I would definitely say, absolutely. If we can put that on a 5G network with T-Mobile, that's going to be a much smarter thing, because now that can't hit the credit cards because it's on a totally separate network. Yeah, it's fine. If someone hacks into the AC network, yeah, it's not going to be great if they bump the AC heat and they increase the heat to 85 degrees, your shoppers are probably going to leave or cool it down to 50 degrees. That wouldn't be very good. It's going to cost you a lot of money, but at least they're not getting into the credit card system, right? That you shut it down and then, set it up manually, and it's a one-day fix, right? Not $385 million or whatever it was back then. Number 3, do your IT staff or partners struggle to manage and optimize the network effectively, right? This is a big one, because we'll have industry leaders and executive leaders asking IT to make very remedial report optimization requests, reports that are going for those optimizing of either the network or their team's productivity, and they can't do it. They're unable to. So specialized skills or extensive documentation is required to maintain the network, limiting agility, right? And again, in 2024, with a lot of organizations reducing the amount of workers that are physically in an office, you need that agility to say, yeah, this month we're in a high-rise downtown costing X. Tomorrow I can be in a more rural area where the majority of maybe my clients are, so my team that needs to physically go out into the field can get there quicker. And 2, we're saving a ton of money because 1, we have less space, but 2, we're in that rural area instead of downtown. Or maybe I have the same space, but I'm paying far less because I can just move out there next month, rather than our lease is, not up for 2 years. Our network's complex. We can't make any of these changes because the network is the thing that's holding us back. So we can't even move to the rural area because, our data center's tying us down, right? This is an issue, right? So is downtime or maintenance taking longer because of that overly complicated configurations that have little to no benefit to the team? So do you also rely on too heavy or external vendors because the network is too intricate for internal teams to handle? This is a big problem as well. You want your partners to be able to say, we have this set so well that your internal team can handle the majority of these pieces. Let us do the remedial part, so your team that's day in and day out, that's so good at handling those high-level issues, let's have them focusing on that, us, that third party, that outsider, take care of those smaller issues that are just over and over and over again. So we can use pattern recognition technology to say, hey, we're noticing back in your warehouse that Wi-Fi is starting to act up. You either need a second access point because too many people are getting on at the same time, or there's a new part that maybe users were rarely using and you didn't have any inventory back there, but now your inventory's doubled. So now there's multiple team members in that back corner and the connectivity just isn't there. We can see that with our tools where your internal team might not have that extremely expensive ticketing system and you wouldn't want to pay for it because it costs so much money. So that's why having those third-party vendors can be benefit, but they should be aligning with you on your business goals, not hindering you and making it over complex so that only they have the keys to the kingdom and understand your business. If someone else owns the keys to your kingdom, if you don't have your admin usernames and passwords, that's another red flag for you and your organization. So why it matters. A network that is too complex to manage becomes a liability, slowing response times and increasing dependency on external resources. Now, these questions not only reveal excessive complexity, but also point towards actionable steps for simplifying the network and improving performance. These are just the things that I would suggest you look into and try and think about as a leader, as an executive leader of where am I performing? Where is my team at? And do I have some over complexity here? Because again, these are the things that are low hanging fruit. If you have some over complexity and you're not able to be agile, chances are it's going to cost you extra money just by having that. Maybe it doesn't cost you today, but at some point down the future, you're going to pay for it. So rather you make a change today, and yeah, you're going to spend a little money to get that back to where it should be, but you won't pay for it later. Because I'm going to tell you right now, when you pay for it later, it's going to be double, triple, quadruple, and sometimes even more. So thank you again for listening to The Digital Dilemma. If you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe and share it with friends. Let's drive our businesses forward together. We'd love to hear your thoughts on any technology needs you want or your organization has. So drop us a line on social media and leave us a comment. I am Nick Dreyfus. This has been The Digital Dilemma. See you next time.